everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Relative Pitch. We are very excited to have a very familiar face with us again today. We have Prof. Ashley Crawford, also known as Flute Bay. You may know her as either an internet sensation, an amazing pedagogue, a national presenter. She's all of it. She's everything. Professor Crawford, how are you? Welcome back.
Hey, it feels good to be back. It feels good to be seen on this wonderful Sunday.
Yes.
He's like, Amen, bless it. But yeah, it feels so good to be here today, and I'm excited and eager to get into our conversation today. I know we got a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about. So
Yes, because this past year, and we just talked about it right before we started recording, it's been a year, but it's like, has it actually been a year? You've
right.
been busy. You've been a little busy. So like you have to catch the audience up about all the things that you have been doing this past year.
So I've still been doing a lot of work with the Nashville African American Wind Symphony, better known as NAWS. Okay. This past Juneteenth to be exact, we had our debut concerts at Belmont University in the McAfee Concert Hall here in Nashville. That was an amazing debut. We were aiming to sell, I believe me and my colleague, we agreed like, okay, let's try to get 200 tickets. We end up selling, I think, about 450, 500 tickets. So it was a full concert. Yeah, it was a full concert. The community really showed up and out. Okay. And it was a beautiful program. We pulled in a lot of talent and activists from the community and brought them in on just the importance and the awareness of Juneteenth and the historical reverence and everything of it. And it was received so well, and people are still buzzing about it. Since then, we've done performances for the NAACP, yes, college affiliate here in Nashville. We have our holiday concert coming up December 9th. Next February, we will be flying out to Colorado for the NAACP convention happening at, I believe it's Colorado State University. Oh, I'm probably like getting the school wrong, but it's a lot. It's a lot going on. So we knew once the ball got rolling on this that it was basically going to become a well-oiled machine, just off of the press and just interest in and alone. So yeah, we're hanging with it and continuing to grow it. So it's just been rewarding and surprising just to see how all of this is coming to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I've been doing, you mentioned national presenter. When you said that, I was like, oh, is that me? I guess that is me. And what was it, August? Yes, in August was the National Flute Association convention. I believe it was the 50th annual convention. I presented alongside Dr. Brittany Charter and Justine Lee Hooper, Flute and Hip Hop, which was the first of its kind at this convention. It was a full clinic. Lauren, were you there?
Yes, no,
I think you had to
we
skip
got there
out.
early. No.
Yeah.
We got there early and we stayed. We stayed because we knew that it was going to be packed in there. And let me tell y'all something. It was like standing room only in that little room. It was people were out in the aisles, people were like standing in behind people. There was a line to get in, but like I got there early. I got me my little front seat. And I was there. I was eating it all up. It was just so magical seeing, because you're absolutely right. That was the first anything of its kind that was at NFA, and it just happened to be on the golden year of 50th
Mhm.
anniversary. Um, that was so impactful for me also because there were so many Black flutists in that room
Yes.
for that
And
presentation.
y'all, oh my gosh, like every introduction, every point that was made, I heard a period, per,
Right.
yes, go off. And I'm like, my people are here.
Oh
My
my
community is here.
we were messing around in that front row. We were having church.
So yeah, we gave a presentation on again flute and hip hop, just the origins of flute in hip hop from all different regions, the West Coast, the East Coast, the South, and again bringing awareness to the role that flute plays in pop culture and just mainstream music, period. So I feel like a lot of people learned them some things that they
Did.
I agree. I agree. I do want to, there's so much to what you've done this past year that I really want to get into because everything
Mhm.
you've been doing is so important. And I definitely want to give praise to every single point that you just made. Going back to Nas, when you guys first created or had the conception of it, did you really think that it was going to run off the ground the way that it did?
We knew it was going to be something big. Um, but of course, you make a plan, God is going to show you something bigger, right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
just knew that much.
Amen.
We just knew that much. It's like, okay, let's have a faith the size of a mustard seed, the size of a grain of salt or sand, right? Um, but to see again just the national attention that it's been getting, it really took us by surprise. Um, at this point we've achieved to receive grants and have these larger organizations reach out to us and say, hey, we want to feature you all here and come play here, we'll fly you all out. And I'm like, is this really happening? This is our budget is what, like really for us?
Right.
So again, we just knew that this was something that the community needed, that a lot of musicians in the community wanted.
Mhm.
Um, and we provided that and gave the downbeat, and the rest is just history, and it's continuing to make history. So yeah, again, I'm always blown away with how much Nas continues to accomplish today.
I love that. And actually, I'm gonna let Anthony go, but I want to definitely come back to that.
So with Nas, do you I see this as being something so pinnacle in this medium, and especially like wind band music, for this to be the National African American with like it that title alone says so much. Do you see in the future that there might be branches of Nas throughout the country? Is that a goal of y'all?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Representation is key. And we don't want it to just be confined to Nashville. Nashville is the starting point, you
Mm,
know.
mm,
Um, I want to look up one day and there's a Chicago branch or a
mm,
Memphis branch or a Houston branch or something like that,
yeah.
to where Black classical musicians across the country, across the board, are finding finding their way to these spaces and creating this beautiful music that we hold strong to and that we also perform and flourish in, you know.
Yes.
So definitely I want to look up and see 50 branches of it.
Yeah.
One for every state if we can, you know. So absolutely.
Yeah, because what I think needs more discourse in our community is Black classical musicians. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
whenever we say we're a Black classical musician, some other folks might think that we don't like Beethoven, we don't like Bach, we don't like Mozart, we don't like all these classical artists, and that's not true. That's not what we are saying whatsoever. We like to play that music just as much as everybody else. But it's the experience that we have shared where some of us have been told, I think you are the expert in this field to
Mhm.
music. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad that there are spaces like this, where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna play it damn good too. So you can come and watch, come and listen. So I'm just so thankful that you all had that vision to open a space like this. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of times when we're talking about classical music, or we're in these spaces where we may be the only one in these ensembles, or these ensembles are predominantly white. It's just that's just fact.
Mhm.
Um, and it's almost, and we see it even with the audience's interest in classical music and in the symphony and things. It's almost like it's reserved for the elitists to enjoy and to consume. And when we talk about classical music, that this is only for the intellect and the upper echelon of people, and there's no way that Black people will be interested in it, or they would fit in it,
Right.
and that's false. That is false. We've seen so many talented, just wonderfully skilled Black classical musicians again come out of this world, and to just assume that based off of what I look like, or how I look, that I have no interest in this music is just absolutely, it's just asinine, and it's just false. Okay. And again, in creating this, like, we saw the problem, and the symphony continues to face this problem today. We see articles after articles coming out, and more awareness being raised as far as like the string component is, what that consists of. But as far as wind band, um we saw the problem, and it's like, okay, here's the solution. Let's find a space. Let's put a call to action and drop the downbeat. And once we let the people, the players, know how big this was, like, this is bigger than us just meeting once a week and just coming to play some music and things like that. Like, we got a point to make out here, and we're walking history right now. Yeah. So we're about to stack a lot of people on our shoulders at some point. And again, just having that starting point with showing up in these spaces like McAfee, and also next year for Juneteenth, we'll be at the Schermerhorn downtown Nashville. So the Symphony Hall for Juneteenth, which they invited us, another big thing. But again, playing on these big stages, showing up dressed to the T, and it's all melanated people ready to play all of these composers that you all hold near and dear. And what a lot of people forget about these composers is that when they were creating, they were pushing the envelope. You want to talk about Beethoven? We know the history of Beethoven, right? We know his attitude, right? We've read about it over and over and over again. But what he was going after was, how can I keep pushing this thing to the next and to the next, and break away from what the norm is, right? So they want to be traditionalists, they want to be elitist, but that's not what creating music was about. That wasn't the groundwork of it, the foundation of it. So I feel like Nas is doing a great thing, and yes, playing this music, but also bringing Black composers to the forefront as well. So yeah, a lot of groundbreaking things that we're doing here.
I just know it has to be, I just know that like your rehearsals in there have to be just like amazing, just a wonderful environment. Because like usually there's one or two per ensemble. So if those one or two have a different perspective on the music, it's probably like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then they come to this ensemble and they're just like, everybody's like, do it. I don't care what you do. We're just gonna have fun in here. And it's gonna be different, and it's supposed to be different because we are different than everybody else. I need to see some Nas on Midwest and show everybody
It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, speak it.
We are proud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that would be a packed. Okay, that concept.
Packed house.
Absolutely. And what's interesting, I'm glad that you brought up Midwest. I teach at Tennessee State University. And I'll be at Midwest this year. Hopefully we
Ooh,
run into each other.
hey, we'll see you.
Yay! But yeah, this is the 75th year, I believe.
Mhm.
And Tennessee State University's Jazz Collegian, so their big jazz band will be performing for Ron Carter, who's receiving the, I believe, what called the Medal of Honor or like the Lifetime Achievement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's receiving one, and this is the first time that an HBCU will be performing at Midwest after 75 years.
Mm-hmm.
So TSU was coming through, breaking the mold, like, okay, it's been 70. What she said, it's been 84 years. It's been this long. It's been this long, but TSU was coming in, and they're getting the door open, and hopefully Nas can come charging through that door as well, kicking that door through, and many more HBCUs to come. But I feel like it's a slow moving process, but it's progress. Yes. But yeah, absolutely. Like we need more, again, representation at these large conferences like NFA and Midwest and things, because we're out here and it makes no sense to show up to these spaces and we not see ourselves, you know?
That's always the craziest argument to me is when people are like, I just like, where are the Black musicians? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we're right here. Y'all just don't let us into these spaces. Like, that is a huge difference between like existence versus like being in those spaces or being let into those spaces. But the fact that you are made a space that people can call their home, that they can go to and they can see their people and they can look on stage to their people, listen to their people playing those standards, those classics. That is history. That absolutely is history. And I love the fact that it came from, like you said, like the faith of a mustard seed. It's like, we know this is something that needs to happen and we want to help it happen, and we'll just have to see with where God takes it, you know, and where it's pushed to. And I think nowadays, at least me working within arts admin, that is not how things are done anymore, unfortunately, in the bigger organizations. And I think that is where there is lack. The faith of in seeing that something needs to be done and going on that and knowing that the wind will carry it where it needs to go, that's gone in that sense. But the fact that we are seeing that does happen, I employ that all the time, because sometimes I'm like, y'all, I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm just putting it out there and we'll just kind of see what happens. Like, there is something to be learned about that type of that mindset when it comes to planning and to putting your heart into something. And I know that's something that you teach your students to do and your students see within you at TSU. So I just wanted to point that out as a student, as someone who's in arts admin. I am happy to see projects come from something like that and bloom into something that it was always meant to be. So I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. And to expand upon that, everything I do is just taking a shot in the dark. Okay. Flute Bay was built off, okay, well, let's see if it works. And still to this day, when I'm creating and when I have time to create and, you know, sit and focus on branding and all of that, I'm still just trying things, you know. And a lot of that just trying allowed me to grow as a musician. So now I've reached the point to where, okay, Flute Bay plays like Flute Bay, and these players play like themselves, or they play like, you know, but I've developed my own identity as a player now. And that foundation of that was classical music. I'm familiar with my horn because of classical music, and I'm able to take that language, take that vocabulary and apply it to other genres and apply it to my own individuality now. So I don't understand how people can say I want to create something but not, you know, take a risk, because that's what it is, right? You got to take a risk to see if it'll even be, you know, successful. And what doesn't work, you know, you tweak it and you change it until it does work. But I think a lot of that comes from just whatever this culture is in our society that's centered around perfectionism, centered around like you go to people's social media pages and it's all a highlight reel and everything is perfect and everything is well put together and people think life has to move that way or life is supposed to move that way, and it doesn't. Like everything ebb and flows, right? It's up until it's down, until it's back up, until it's down, until it's back up again, and that's just how things work. Has Nas posed some challenges? Absolutely. It has not always been just roses and applause, right? You all are hearing the highlights, but there is some groundwork and bricks being laid that we are laboring over. And sometimes the team is like, okay, I'm not dealing with you right now. And then until we come back together and it's like, okay, we have the idea now, we got it. Let's make it work, right? Mm-hmm. So again, I feel like organizations should not be afraid to, I'll just say it, put it plainly put, you should not be afraid to fail at first, because it happens. And once you figure out, okay, this didn't work, let's try this, and then it'll be successful. Mm-hmm. Like just going in saying, all right, let's make it perfect. Like that prolongs progress to mm-hmm. me. When you try to jump into things just perfect automatically. It's not, it just doesn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that, because you're absolutely right. Not even just in our field, but everywhere. Perfectionism is something that we want to uphold, and you're absolutely right. Social media is just ooh.
She said ooh.
It's just so hard going on there and just seeing that, because I just look at, there are families now and people who literally are monetized on that's how they make their money, is through ads and through all those things they do on social media. And while part of me is kind of like, I'm always the person who's like, get your bag, right? But at the same time, I'm kind of like, what is that doing for you, like internally, like your spirit? Mm-hmm. Like when I see someone only posting ads or like only posting pictures with their partner, but then being like, we had such a fun day out at, Walt Disney and use my code, da 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 da. I'm just kind of like, are you happy? Like, do you have any joy in your life? Because like, it literally stresses me out sometime. And that's like, I feel like I kind of took a little step back away from social media, which was hard because last year I literally did social media for a company. But like that was another part of it that was helping me be kind of like, I kind of hate this. like I kind of dislike everything about this.
Look, moment of transparency right here. What social media has become. Okay, I'm 33 years old. I'm a millennial. Okay, so we're on the cusp of, we went through all of it. Black Planet, MySpace, Facebook. Like we went through all of the tiers, right? Mm-hmm. And social media was this thing like, okay, we get to meet new people and find a community. And then somewhere along the lines, it became just, this money-making machine, just this, everybody is an influencer, everybody is chasing this influencing dream and everything. And I use it for professional reasons, of course, just to keep myself out of trouble. I'm like, okay, everybody doesn't need to know everything I'm thinking when I'm thinking it. Like, y'all are going to get these flute shots and these flute bay things, and that's it. Yeah. But even with that, just how naturally competitive it can become very toxic. All of a sudden, people in your community are creating narratives about you're creating narratives about them, and it's all in your head just based off of what you're scrolling through, people. Yeah. And this has been a reality check just for myself, with speaking with other creators and things, and realizing like these are people on the other end of these profiles, and you forget because everyone looks so perfect, and it's just human nature, if you're going through a certain phase in your life or something like that, and someone appears to have it all together, it may make you, feel some type of way. I've seen it with my own students. I've experienced it. Other creatives have talked to me about this, and that's a real place. So it is important to step back, and I've done so this semester. This semester was very busy for me. And it took a toll on me a little bit because I'm like, oh my gosh, Flute Bay is disappearing. Flute Bay has not gone anywhere. Okay. I'm still outside playing. And just because just because I'm not posting it doesn't mean that it's not real.
Ooh.
And I made a couple of posts recently. I'm like, okay, in times of silence, and I did this for myself. In times of silence, I'm at work. In times of silence, I'm raising my daughter. In times of silence, I'm sleep girl. In times of silence,
Yes.
I'm watching Netflix. Okay.
Thank you.
And it is okay to be present in your life.
Yes.
And I know that probably doesn't have anything to do with our conversation today, but I really wanted to make note of that because social media is such a big thing. And that was a part of my presentation at NFA, actually, when we were talking about being an influencer and finding what your success is in it. And I think we see a lot of people's successes and we think that our success has to look like that. And your story may not end up like that. Like, Lauren, you're a flutist. I'm a flutist. And so is Lizzo. Are we going to go and be Lizzo? Am I going to go be Lauren? Are you going to go and be Flute Babe? No. Everybody has their own story, their own thing. And I just think it's important for people to not tap in so much to what everyone else is doing. Yes, find your inspiration, but just that. Leave it right at that point. Find your inspiration, but don't go find a reason to continue to destroy yourself from this platform because you're so wrapped up in what everyone else is doing or what you may perceive to be, success or what's perfect from someone else's life, because you just don't know what other people's story are and what other people's story is and what it took for them to get there. You have to tap into what your real life is and get there on your own.
Yes.
No, this is so it's so relevant to everything that we do now, because you're absolutely right. There, especially within the music field, not even just classical music, but just music in general, you see people all the time on socials like wanting to show different things, and like some of it's great. Like I love seeing sometimes people showing their creation process or talking about how they get themselves out of funks, or even just sharing like amazing content. That part is always the fun, inspirational part that you're like, oh, that was really nice to see. You're absolutely right. It is the fact that if we don't see someone posting a lot where like there's an inherent like, I wonder what they're doing. It's like we feel like entitled to other people's lives, especially because we have the examples of people who overshare so much. I think most of social media is just oversharing. You're right. Sometimes you should have just kept that thought to yourself. Like maybe you shouldn't have said it.
And then people get in trouble because you think you have to share every single day.
Exactly.
You think, okay, I'm upset, so I have to say something. No, you don't.
Right.
Go write it down or call your girlfriend and say it,
That's it.
The celebrity right now, at a celebrity that's in the news currently, maybe you should have kept your opinions.
Just be quiet. just be quiet. That's it. Just drop the job. Be quiet. One thing I will say that goes along with all this stuff and like tearing yourself down, social media has become a spot to tear others down that you have never met. Like, I'll openly admit, in my undergrad, it was me. I said it. I admit it. I was like, I don't know why they're getting this because I can play this good. It's just like scroll through, you angrily scroll through. And now I'm just like, I haven't made a post since like 2020. I'm just like, literally, I got a job and I said, Anthony, should I make a post? Anthony's like, you haven't made a post? I said, no. And he was like, you should maybe make a post. And I finally made a post in August after I started the job for like 3 weeks. And it was just like, I just like stopped posting. I'd be scrolling. But one of my students was like, yeah, I just feel like I'm not good. And also, so this person's my same age. I'm like, you've never started taking lessons until this year. Your first time taking lessons was college and you were on your 6th lesson. Yeah, they're probably going to be a little further thing because they had those people be in the bowling alleys. Like they were like, bounce over here. You can't fall in the gutter because I'm here. I'm like, you just now have that. So like, you understand the privilege they had. Now you have this. What are you going to do with? Like, what do you want to do with your career? And how are you going to use these for 4 years to get there? And I'm just like, y'all, I can't do this no more.
Right. And what I was telling people, even in the workshop that we gave when it was the social media portion, when you find your niche, that's like the hot word now. Find your niche. What do you like to do? Once you find that, you create your posting schedule according to that. You shape what that looks like for you. And again, I always stress your people will find you. The people who follow me, they know, okay, she's quiet right now. She'll be back, y'all. Here she goes. She's doing her thing. Again, I get messages from people who follow me for years and was like, okay, girl, I know you're at work right now, but when you have time, can you know what I'm saying, do this Anita Baker? When you come back, I'll be waiting for it. Okay, bye. Love you, But again, my community, they understand me, and early on, if you followed me like years ago, you're privy to like some mental health things that I've shared and everything. It's like, okay, if I do a lot of this, y'all, I get really depressed and it takes a toll on me. And I want to, be at my best when I share with you all. And I don't want this to be something toxic for me. And I want all of us to love the gift of music together. I don't want it to feel like it's eating away at me and it's destroying me, okay? Because I'm trying to keep up with whatever the algorithm says it's a great posting schedule, okay? But again, those people, they understand me. So with that type of transparency, with their understanding, that audience translates to who shows up to my shows in real life. I've seen musicians, I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but I've seen people with numbers, okay? They got 200,000, 300,000, a million followers, and 15 people are showing up to your show. But you posting every day. Look at his face right now.
That ain't it.
But with my little modest following, my 20,000 on Instagram or whatever it is on TikTok, I'm able to translate that because, I tell people all the time, talk to me, I talk back. You DM me, I'm going to DM you, but, don't respectively. Okay. Be respectful, okay? But that shows up in real life, It's the reason why Nas can pack out a show like that. It was a reason why I can have a flute-based show and pack the venue or whatever. You have to think about whatever that success is for your niche, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, then go after that. You can't let what people in the comments, what we like to say, fonts or something like that. You can't let these people shape what that looks like for you,
Yeah. And with, all of that, yes, I feel like we don't talk too much about social media on here just because that's something I feel like all of us are either just so tired about or we just don't care enough about unless we're addressing something that goes on. But it is so relevant and it has become a big thing. And it makes sense because the past few years, especially with the pandemic, that was one way that we could all reach each other. So sure that it makes sense that there was a surge of that, happening online. But it is nice to reconnect with people in person. So I encourage y'all, please go outside and touch grass, go to live performances, go connect with other musicians. And I love that that's exactly what you did with this presentation for NFA. You found your two presentation partners who are both amazing flutists and educators in their own rights. And you brought this amazing presentation that is unlike anything that the National Flute Association has ever seen before. Just tell us about the conception of your flute and hip hop presentation and kind of the process of creating it.
So Dr. Brittany Trotter sent out, did she DM me first? Or I believe she DM'd me first and was like, hey girl, been following you for a long time. We've followed each other for years. I don't even know how long we've known each other at this point, but I'm thinking about doing this presentation on flute and hip hop at NFA. Like, she just gave them rundown, and she just asked, I was wondering if you were interested. I was like, sure, girl. Like, here's my email, send me the details once you get them, you know. And then she reached out to Justine. Justine jumped in. She put us in a group email. And we started working on the proposal first. That's what came first. We started working on the proposal, and we had, I believe, a Zoom meeting. Yes, this was like some months in planning, so I'm trying to like make sure I have it in my head. We jumped on a Zoom meeting, met each other for the first time virtually, which is really great. We were just all big smiles, like, oh my God, it's your face, like, for real, moving and speaking, you know. So we started to have a brain fire. Okay, what is this thing gonna look like? So we eventually reached that, okay, let's break it down into regions. And I believe Brittany, she teaches at is it called Pacific State University or something? She's in California. Yes. So she teaches a flute hip hop class there where she covers like improv and she and pedagogy and things. Like, she does a lot. Like, this girl is like phenomenal. And she covers a lot of West Coast things. So she said, okay, I could talk about the West Coast. Justine is from New York. She said, I could talk about the East Coast. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I could talk about the South. So like, it kind of like fell into place that way. So we typed up in the outline what we'll do. So Brittany typed up her blurb. She said, okay, I'll do West Coast. I'll talk about improv. Justine said, okay, I'll do East Coast, and I'll talk about mainstream culture. And she was talking about, you know, like the Mask Off Challenge and SNL and all those things. And I said, okay, I could talk about the South and music, hip hop music in the South, because people aren't really familiar with that outside of it becoming mainstream, like around the time of the Migos coming out and everything. And the South really just had a boom in hip hop mainstream hip hop music. And I'll talk about social media because, again, you know, just my niche, you know. So sent off the proposal. It feels like it was accepted almost immediately. Like, they were like, what? We haven't had anything like this. Of course. So boom, got the go ahead to present. So we started scheduling Zoom meetings. Again, brainstorming, how is this presentation gonna look, how long it needs to be, you know, like the logistic things. And we started to put our information and things together, start to put our PowerPoints and things together. So West Coast, Brittany, she's working over here. I'm working on the South. Justine is working on the East Coast. And then I think we did it in Canva. Yeah, we used Canva. They have some really nice PowerPoint presentation things on there, by the way. Sorry, my educator brain is jumping out like, oh my gosh, it's just so seamless and so beautiful. So we're putting our presentation and things together, submitting, we're creating deadlines and everything. So like, we're working, okay? And we will have our practice run-throughs via Zoom, which was interesting. And we decided, okay, we have to do like a quote unquote recital portion of the presentation. So we had to play like, okay, what is that going to look like? So Justine had a DJ friend of hers put this mix together with all these different hip hop flute songs, and like, okay, we're going to arrange something for it. So Brittany picked 2 songs and she started to arrange her flute part for it. I picked 2 songs. I arranged my flute part for it. Justine, the same thing. We put all these things together. We did not rehearse this presentation until the day before it was time to present. That was the first time we met in person, touched each other, hugged, like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. Let's go in this corner and practice really quick before tomorrow. So that was really awesome. We did our run through, and then the next day we presented, and it was the planning portion of it. It was just amazing to me. Like, this was one of the moments where technology was just everything, because she's over in California, she's in New York, I'm down here in Nashville, but we were able to come together and put this amazing presentation together, and use Zoom and everything to facilitate that. So yeah, just a lot of planning. Again, a shot in the dark. Dr. Trotter was like, I want to do this flute and hip hop thing. Are y'all down? And we were like, yeah, girl, here's the email, here's my number, like, let's do it. So yeah, again, a whole lot of planning and execution.
And it turned out so good. Like it felt like it was educational, it was entertaining.
Mhm.
I felt encouraged and inspired by it by the end of it, just to see y'all up there, but then to be speaking on, a topic that again has never ever made its way into the National Food Association. And then just seeing the reactions, there was laughing and people like enjoying themselves. It was like a convening, a celebration. And afterwards, obviously, you got, I mean, the standing ovation you had and all the people coming up to you afterwards. Like, how did that feel to have that? I mean, not that even you needed an affirmation from that, but just to have that affirmation from the people in the room. How did that feel?
Um, Again, just the energy of it. There was a number of emotions. I'll just speak for myself. I know my girls, it was just a rush over all of us. I can say that. Um, but just for myself, it was reaffirming that, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Because for a minute, and I'm so appreciative of Brittany for giving us this opportunity, and just presenting this opportunity to us. um I felt a bit, alienated from the flute world a bit, because I started to dive into Flute Bay a bit more. And a lot of the flute community appreciates what I do with Flute Bay, and they follow me. But then there was the other part of the flute community is just like, okay, well, if you're not playing Mozart, then you're not a real flutist. Yeah. But um so, like, I'm going through like those mental acrobatics with that. Like, do I belong here? Do I belong there? Am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? Um, but at the end of that presentation, and even during the presentation, I felt at home. I felt like, okay, girl, you worked hard for this.
Yes.
It's a like, you deserve to be here. And I feel like a lot of people, again, forget that, with just going back into our previous conversation with constantly comparing yourself to other people and everything. You forget what's destined for you. And I ended up exactly where I was supposed to be, when I was supposed to be there. Did it show up when I wanted to? Probably not. But um the timing was impeccable. I will say that. um so again, I felt reaffirmed. I felt relieved, because that's always, it's still, every time I'm in front of people, whether if I'm speaking, teaching or playing, it's all a performance, right?
It is.
So there's that sigh of relief, like, okay, girl, take your bow. Boom. We got through another one, right?
Yeah.
And I felt that now my Leo is about to come out. I don't know if y'all into zodiac or whatever, but I'm a Leo. Okay. So that came out of there like, okay, girl, another notch on your belt. You did that. you know,
But
Add it to the
That's
list.
right.
right.
That's
Add it to the list. The price just went up. It just went up. Yesterday's
clear.
price is not today's
Today's
price.
Talk about it.
So again, it was just so many different emotions, and they were all positive, and it felt great when people were coming up to me. Like Kim Scott came up to me, and she, amazing flautist, amazing performing, recording flautist. hoping she gets that Grammy nod this year. But for her to come up and introduce herself to me, and I'm like, wait, no, stop. I know who you are. Okay. I'm Ashley Crawford. It's so nice to meet you. You know, I met Nestor Torres and he was excited about it. He had another workshop happening at the same time, but he sent his manager on behalf of him to watch our clinic and come back and tell him everything about it. And Nestor was just so blown away with what we did, and he was so appreciative of what we did because he said it's so important for the flute world to know what's happening cultural wise as far as hip hop and jazz, and you know he does Latin music and everything, and just for them to open their ears and their eyes to what's happening around them, like it's more than just, you know, the classical track flute, you know. But again, and to see a lot of faces in the community, in the flute community that I've only seen on social media, like that was just so heartwarming for me. It felt good to see Lauren and to see who else was there? It was so many people. Oh my goodness. I have so many faces in my brain right now. But just to see everyone, Dr. Lankin and Elisa Gittens, and just so many people, man. And the support in the room just overall was it was overwhelming, and it was received so well. And we hope to continue the awareness and again the representation. So we're trying to hit other flute festivals and hopefully another national conference really soon.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask if there was any plans to take the presentation. You know, you already hit the national level, so it's hard once you get to the national level, be like, what's next? It's like, well, but like I did want to ask about what are the plans for the research you all did for flute and hip hop.
So we're definitely planning to again present at other festivals. I think the New York Flute Fair, I believe that's what it's called. That's on the table right now. But again, you know, it's up to everyone's schedule.
Sure.
With Brittany teaching and myself teaching, just, you know, if we can get away with, you know, professional development.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, TSU, can y'all pay for this real quick? Anyway, just, you know, finding time for everyone's schedule to align so we can do this. But it's definitely on the table. The next national conference is on the table as well. So again, trying to get those proposals out, and hopefully we get the confirmation so we could go ahead and take care of business. So that's where we are right now.
Well, I will be watching and seeing because if y'all come anywhere near the Pacific Northwest, I'm gonna be there. If y'all in the South anywhere, I'm gonna pop up. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna pop up around there. But it just right. But no, it was great. Like yeah, NFA. There are a lot of very traditionalist people within the National Flute Association. So being able to see a presentation of this nature, given by presenters of your caliber and of your backgrounds was everything we needed to see, everything we like I expected to see after, you know, these years away from being, you know, convening together. And all I'm saying is I hope to see longevity with that. I want to see more of that, especially as well from like the younger side of students who are in school who are having these ideas and who want to bring their ideas to life. And that's something that thankfully I had a lot to do with this past NFA was seeing what's happening within the student, you know, community and what's going on and what people are wanting to do. And that's been what I've been advocating for, is for student voices, specifically POC and also queer student voices, to be uplifted and represented more within NFA. And so let's hope that all our efforts that we're doing will continue to be integrated within NFA, because it is a home for a lot of us, you know what I mean? And it's not just one look. It's not one type of way to play the flute. It's not one type of person who plays the flute.
Right.
So we just have to represent that more. And so hopefully we'll see that. But I mean, with this, with Nas and what everything you're doing at TSU, like it's inspirational. You are busy, 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 but everything you do is of such a high standard of excellency that it is inspirational to see. It's inspirational to us all here on Relative Pitch. I'm sure to our audience as well. What I always like to give you a chance to leave with like a word of advice to our audience. So with everything you have accomplished this past year, but also within your educational journey, if there are people who are out there who are struggling to find their footing, who feel like they're not getting the opportunities they need, they don't feel like they're in the right place, they're not around the right people, what advice can you give them to encourage them to keep trying, to keep pushing?
Wow. I'm gonna try not to be too long. Y'all know how I can get preachy, okay?
Please, please.
um, but if you can't find your footing, let's say you feel like you're in a creative block, because I feel like everyone is creative. If you're living day to day and you're figuring out how to get day to day, because every time we wake up, the day costs like $500 because of inflation. And you're figuring out how to get to the next day, into the next day, into the next day. You are creative, okay? You making it. But those moments of blockage and you feeling like you quote unquote can't figure it out, I won't label it as that. And I've taken this bit of advice that I'm about to give you from Erykah Badu. Those moments, you're downloading. Every time I've taken a step back, whether if it's I went silent on social media, or I maybe put my flute to the side for a second because I'm like, I just cannot figure this out right now. And I go off and do other things. You mentioned earlier, Lauren, putting your feet in the grass. Sometimes it takes that. Go outside and get charged up. Or for speaking for myself, stepping back into my experience as a mother, as a wife, as a woman, living my experience. All of those things feed into your art. All of those things feed into whatever it is that you're creating. So allow yourself to download that. So when you do go back to it, it turns into something better. It becomes something better than what you initially began to create in the first place, because now you're in a different place. As far as the people that you're surrounded by, my former band director has preached this time and time again. Preachers have preached this time and time again. Take a look at the 5 closest people to you. Often than not, they kind of represent where you are in life right now, and some qualities about yourself. So if so-and-so over here, or all 5 of your besties, don't care about doing anything about their life or getting to the next point in their life, then what you think is going to happen with you? So you have to find your village. I went through it in my 20s, losing what I thought was friends at the time, but no, that was them being moved out of my way so I could get to my village on the other side.
Talk about it.
And now with the shift of that circle has put me in rooms I never imagined stepping into. I have numbers in my phone that I still scroll through my contact list like, is this producer number really in my phone right now? Can I really hit this person up? This person hit me up saying, jump on this track right now. But I know if I had still been hanging out with so-and-so and so-and-so over here, that I would probably be in jail or dead right now. So it's making the conscious effort in all aspects of your life to become better. You have to make that decision. And it's going to look like losing people. It may feel like you're losing yourself a little bit. But what's happening is that you're shedding all of those bad qualities that can't make it to the top, that can't take you to where your highest self is. And another thing I used to do too, is I journal a lot. Okay. And I started to journal about my highest self. What does the highest form of Ashley Crawford look like? And I journaled to the point where, what does she smell like? How does her hair look? What does her makeup look like? How does she dress? How does she walk? How does she talk to people? And I'm just creating this woman in my journal. And I'm looking up to her as I'm writing about it, but I'm writing about myself. I'm like, oh my God, she the baddest. She walk in the room like this. She does this. She does this. She does this. And I'm writing about her when I'm like 25 years old. And I look up and I was like, oh my goodness, she walked in NFA with that cape on her back in August.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, her face was laid just the way I said, oh my goodness. So the power of manifestation, it looks a number of ways. It's not just sitting in the middle of the floor, doing your ums and meditating. And no, you write about this person.
Yes.
You visualize this person. And again, you're going to have to shed a lot of stuff to get there. It's going to be some growing pains. Okay. A lot of growing pains, but you're going to look up and see and feel everything that you prayed for. And you have to allow yourself the grace to get there. And I think I can stop there because, like I said, I'll preach, y'all. I'll preach because
look, it's Sunday service. Go ahead.
Because those 20-somethings is different. Those are your building blocks. And then when you get to your 30s, you're still building, but it feels a little better. Money a little better. Home a little better, family a little better, all of that, but I'm still going through a lot of, okay, I want bigger. I still want more. I still feel there's more left for me. My story isn't over yet. So as long as you breathing and you're in good health and you're able-bodied, it's possible. Okay.
Listen, I don't know about y'all, but I needed that on this Sunday. I needed it. And hopefully, usually when I ask those questions, I always wrap up. So I'm always like, I know I'm going to get something out of this, but I also hope that whoever audience we have out there, if this was something you needed to hear, then I'm glad that Ashley, you were here to give it to them, to us, to me. You are just such an inspiration again to all of us here at Relative Pitch, and we thank you for being who you are. And we are excited to see all the amazing things. We're just excited to see already what you have done. And I can't even fathom what the future is going to look like for you, but I know it's there. And we're excited to be along on the journey with you with this. So thank you so much for your time, for being here today. To everyone else who watched this, we hope that you are leaving with a sense of mindfulness and being present, and you have some takeaways. So until next week, thank you again, Ashley, for being here with us.
Thank you all for having me. I love chatting with y'all, like anytime.
Always a pleasure. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.